Namaste, and welcome, beloved mighty companions, to this holy circle of infinite light, where we gather together in His holy name, in the name of God, in the name of the Father, and of the Son, and of the Holy Spirit. Just to be shown another way. It's our only function, actually, is to be shown. To show us another way, Jesus, show us another way other than this desire for something other than infinite. That we're wrong about absolutely everything. And it feels like sometimes we're having to say the experience here wrong again about 1,000 times a day. But with each I'm wrong again comes the power of God admitted. Admitted that God's already here. God can never leave us, can never leave. And the light of divine being, in honesty of God, in the light. Can the light leave? Does it come and go? To take a vacation? We really need to see that, because the play in consciousness is the play to play, which is a desired experience. The desired experience for God to seem to be elusive. Jesus, is there a desire below my level of awareness for God, infinite light, to seem elusive? And is the real play here to play dead? Is that the play? Not dead in truth, because the light's still here, regardless of whatever the play is, but to pretend like the light is not here to kill light out of awareness. Infinite light. And then to claim, God, what are you doing to me? And until we see there's no me for something to be done to, that it's all a desired experience. Every shred of it, every last little morsel is desired. You can ask Jesus, because that's all we practice here. If there's a practice, he says it's a helpful practice to really listen to the one who knows the truth, the honesty of God. Within the ego thought system, there's no honesty whatsoever. You can ask Jesus. It's this deceiving one. It's the serpent of deception. The desire for an experience of serpent of deception over the unchanging one. To let a serpent of deception have power over infinite light, tempt to. But in truth and the light of divine being, we can look and see, not possible. Then the relishing, the looking at the relishing of desired experience. The relishing of wanting to stay asleep. And the relishing of the desire to wake up slowly. When really it's ceasing to deny. You can ask Jesus. That's a really good distinction to make in the mind. Jesus, is it awakening or merely ceasing to deny what's already here? Like if we look with the deepest honesty of God. What's most helpful? Is it spiritual awakening or ceasing to deny what's already here? It's more direct. Because the ego is going to search for the one to be awake. And to look so carefully and specifically with that surgical precision at every denial, desire for an experience that light is not here. And just see where the clues are, all the clues. The desire for an experience of Armageddon, that desired experience. The desire for the experience of dissolution of consciousness. To make it and then be in the desire for the experience of seeing it fall away. It's the only way it can occur, because the light, see that the light's not invested at all in anything that appears in consciousness. Watched the movie Knowing last night. And as I've said with many of these movies, when I first watched them, probably the first couple of times through the play of consciousness, it's like, oh, don't like that movie at all, until you see that the underpinnings, the desire for an experience of the end of the world, to experience a world and then just watch it seemingly disappear out of awareness. When really it's made to mask what's always here. Choiceless awareness. And the whole movie, Jesus is talking to me about Armageddon, end of the world. It's like, Jesus, like, what is that really? I can hear him now, desired experience. And needing to have that desired experience for the end of the world and apocalyptic prophecy. Yes, that's a happy prophecy to the ego. It's not. The apocalypse isn't a happy prophecy, because it merely points to the last judgment day. He was talking to me about the desire for an experience of a last judgment day. See, because the light doesn't have a judgment. It's not looking around in there for something to judge, but consciousness in the play of fragmentation, which is judgment, miscreation. The ego's hoping judgment day never comes, the last judgment day, because it likes to play in judgment. It likes to play in differences and shadow and dark, and it's not good or bad. The light's not saying, okay, the ego's bad or good. The light just doesn't see it as existing of any value whatsoever. Last judgment day is to see how much we value judgment and have that be the last day. The last time that judgment is time. The relishing of time for the timeless one to play timekeeper, and avoid seeing that light has no time in it, infinite, has no setting. The infinite has no time setting in it, doesn't have a little egg timer in there. We can look and see. Does the holy instant have a little egg tick tock, the little tick tock of time? And you start to see in the play, I need more time, like the desire for it, and then not having enough of it, the scarcity. I don't have enough time. No, it's the ego saying, I desire to experience time, and that time is a limitation. It's a concept of limitation for the desired experience of limitation. This is like Jesus, Do I relish using the experience a limitation of time, that I'm somehow limited by time? Do I really relish that? To play the game of judgment, to take out the little board of figures and move them around, and to play the game of time and space, to play relative. It's something's, there's an object here relative to this one, rather than see them in wholeness. Okay, Jesus, well, thank you for showing me that none of it exists. Yet the play of wanting to make time a reality, the reality rather than timeless reality. Jesus, can I ever be free or happy with the concept of time, holding on to the concept of time? He said it's the same as holding on to the concept of death. You'll always feel limited in the concept of time because you're timeless. You see, the timeless one, infinite light, it doesn't wear a watch. It's not like we stop wearing watches. It's just that we see that there's nothing bound by that. God's not watching a time. So we're creating time and then getting mad about time. When are we going to wake up? In the play, yet relishing not seeing light that's here already, that's timeless. Cosmic humor, consciousness. So lesson 22. Oh boy, here he goes. Truth. Honesty of God. That's what these lessons are. Honesty of God. Give it to me, Jesus. What I see is a form of vengeance. It's good to ask him how much we relish vengeance, that experience, just that relishing. Oh, yes. To play the game of vengeance. That's what the ego doesn't want to admit, how deeply wound into that. Oh, I like it, Jesus. I really like it. To let it fully bloom, that wanting of vengeance. Because in the world, it's like, oh, that's terrible. So we can distract ourselves to try and save the world from vengeance, which is just a big distraction from seeing how much vengeance is desired as experience. So we go to honesty of God. Do I desire vengeance? And just hear what he says and go until he says no, it falls away as a desired experience. Today's idea accurately describes the way anyone who holds attack thoughts in his mind must see the world. Jesus, when I'm experiencing attack thoughts, does that mean I'm relishing them? What am I experiencing as though I'm being attacked? So at first it seems like attack is out there and someone's attacking someone else, of course, in war. And then play of consciousness. Okay, I'm going to avoid attack. I'm going to protect myself. I'm a gonna. And then, it just seems like it ramps up as soon as we start to see, okay, it's not out there. There's a decision to experience it. Well, we may not admit it's a decision to experience it. At first, it's like, okay, I'll take Jesus's word and start forgiving and looking at where I'm not at peace. The real flip comes when it's like, I am deciding I like attack. I relish this more than infinite. And then it becomes, okay, just might as well give it to me all. Show me everything. Christ control. Then it's fast. And it, like Jesus says, the Holy Spirit is to minimize pain. Yet the ego convinces, if I follow the Holy Spirit, it's going to be pain. But that power that's accepted by stepping into fear and just not buying into that, it can't be described. The power, it's acceptance of divine power to say no to the wrong mind. Today's idea accurately describes the way anyone who holds attack thoughts, that's such a, that's an, like every word in this book holds it. Attack thoughts are not just happening. Suffering's not just happening. It's held in the mind, a treasure. You can ask Jesus, Jesus, are attack thoughts held like treasures in the mind? So the only way we can feel attack is to treasure it. It's like, oh, I like it. I want that experience. And on the surface, it's going to feel like, well, that's insane. I don't want that. But we can't get to honesty of God and to freedom until we look to see the cherishing. This just isn't a way. You can ask Jesus, is there a way to do this without really looking at the cherishing of it, of desired experience? You'll have moments. As he said, all paths lead to Rome. You know, all paths can lead. He's not saying this is the only path because it's impossible. We can see light in a second. All of a sudden, realize, wait a minute, there is no other. There's just infinite light. He said, but beliefs about the world be fully no longer in the play. He said it takes looking with me to see where the light's being denied, because you can recognize it as a dream. It's not, many beings have talked about seeing it's a dream. This has appeared throughout the reflections in time. They won't be free of the dream. They'll still be taking pills and going to the doctor, and they won't be at peace. As a play in consciousness, they'll still be in the play of consciousness. He said, until it's really seen through. The desire for the experience of a consciousness to play in it, the desire for the experience to deny the light, this desire for the experience of having an experience of the dissolution of it. And then just admitting it. Oh yes, that's a relish, that Armageddon. It's a relished experience. You can ask him, Jesus, do I relish Armageddon? He says, every time you say no to me, you're saying no, you're saying yes to Armageddon. Death to light, light in the mind. We just start new, fresh, going, okay, what I see is a form of vengeance. So everything other than infinite light and infinite peace is vengeance. We can ask Jesus that and hear him. Having projected his anger onto the world, he sees vengeance about to strike him. You can ask Jesus, how much of my day do I spend in strike mode? Ready to be struck down without even realizing it, because we think we're safe in our little house and our little chair. You know that feeling you just want to zone out and watch TV and just zone? Well, It's zoning from zoning. See, it can't go anywhere. It's just it's avoidance. So we're sitting in the house, avoiding looking to see how terrified, how we're buying into the terror. That's why we have to go outside of the house and follow his instructions. We have to step out to see really how we've made a world that we're terrified of, and how we play like we're safe, which is so untrue. It's completely untrue. We're still in attack, constant attack all day long. You can ask them. You climb under the covers in your bed. Like some days you don't feel like going out, but you're still in a state of attack. Like it follows you into the bed. Abject misery. It'll follow. It follows. Like David says, it'll even haunt you into the grave. Yes. You can ask Jesus now, I'll tell you. Without really this deep looking, will the ego haunt even after seeming the body goes pink? It's relentless. See the trick of having a little tombstone and saying rest in peace. There's no rest in that. Hell follows, that hell cloud follows everywhere until it's seen how it's desired. Oh gosh. His own attack is thus perceived as self-defense. Just ask him about that relishing of wanting to defend, play the defense game. So it can fully rise in awareness. It's helpful. And just ask him and let that, you see it in every cell. Like I say, in bioenergetics, they call it body armoring. You're just armored. This ready for fight. Jesus, am I really poised for a fight all the time? It's just symbolized the way fighting with him. Fighting with our brother. Fighting with ourselves. The little shadow puppets in there, taking out their swords, falling on their swords. Little play. His own attack is thus perceived as self-defense. Just see how much it's relished. And it's the same. He's saying, see how attack and defense are the same. Okay, Jesus, so they say, show me how attack and defense are the same. They seem to be separate. You could see like the cycles in the lifetime, or when he was showing me that was helpful. He always shows you what's most helpful because we've asked him to, and really trust that he's going to show it and then ask for his interpretation, because the ego's going, I don't want to see that. But when he was showing me the cycles, it just was helpful here. He says, yes, the cycles of birth and death. But you don't even need to have past lives cycling to see that even in this lifetime, it's cycling of being the victim and the victimizer cycles. The hamster on the wheel. On this minute, somebody's trying to victimize me, and see the relishing of it. Relishing feeling like a victim, relishing feeling like a victimizer, and seeing the play over time. And it just goes like this. It's like a loop. And then wanting to escape that feeling and look for safety in the ego. I'll build a stronger house. I'll put more locks on. I'll buy insurance. I'll get bodyguards. And then just never really looking deeply at just the terror, the desire for an experience of terror. This becomes an increasingly, here he is going into the cycle, vicious cycle until he's willing to change how he sees. That's why it has to get really vicious, even sometimes, the ego. You can ask Jesus, when the ego feels vicious, suspicious to vicious, is that a desired experience? See if it's relished, actually, saying it is relished to be as vicious as it can be vicious. Because it's attack, it's a desire for experience of being attacked all the time. That's why we don't even know what peace is, because we don't even see the relishing of attack and how it's a continual experience within consciousness, as long as the subconscious desires are throwing out a script of death. It just tosses it out, and this becomes an increasingly vicious cycle until he's willing to change how he sees. So these lessons of changing how we see, Jesus, I'm willing to see this differently. How precious. This becomes the greatest gold. So precious. And that we can look with perfect impunity upon what seems to be made, the miscreation, and the power to look upon it so directly. That what I see is a form of vengeance. Just look, okay, give it to me. It's the standing into it where acceptance of divinity, divine power comes in so strongly. Like, turn in and just see if we get struck by lightning. It may seem that, then just see, okay, if it happens, okay, that was desired experience in the play of consciousness. Otherwise, thoughts of attack and counterattack will preoccupy him and people his entire world. And we can ask him, Jesus, if thoughts and attack and counterattack peopling my world, is that what's really happening through my desire to kill the light in the mind? It just peoples the world with attack. I'm looking over my shoulder. It's like I didn't even see. I was walking down the street, looking over our shoulder. It was like that hunting. You notice that, like, over time, you start to notice, like, you can't even walk down the street without hunting for something to buy. I could see that hunting. That's why it was so helpful to have them start interrupting that pattern. So I could just ask them, okay, is this needed? Do I need to think about this? So it just stops the constantly hunting mechanism, the play to hunt for something, desire for objective experience, to be what we're not, be what I am not. And you can just start to notice that never resting. There's just no resting in that hunting and that shark moving out. Yeah, he's saying you don't even see the consistency with which that shark is continually on the hunt, continually. And why they're just little scraps of peace. And then all of a sudden it's like hell breaks loose. The desire for hell, until he is willing to change how he sees, till we're just willing to, okay, I'm going to look at it full on. Otherwise, thoughts of attack and counterattack will preoccupy him and people his entire world. Jesus, is my world, do I desire a world peopled with attack? Can you help me see through that? He's reminding me this need not be. What peace of mind is possible to him then? None. It's like little peeps, dribs and dabs. The moment we look to see that the light's here, just notice. Just resting as light, like just 1 second. Oh, Papaji, would you give it 1 second to see what's here? One little, and notice that the light's not involved. It's peaceful, unlimited, Everything in the Vedas, right here, right now. Infinite, unchanging light. And then there's Armageddon. See, it's like, what happened? I was so peaceful there. I saw that I'm infinite light. There's still a belief that something's happening. The desire for experience that something's happening over the light. That's always here, ever present. Let him lead the way. What I see is a form of vengeance. So anything other than peaceful light is vengeance. You can ask him. Yep. Slightest twitch, vengeance, Jesus. Never tells me no to that. But it's good to hear it over and over to be reminded. You can ask him when you feel a twitch, is that vengeance, Jesus? Because we can always do the light test. Does the light twitch? No. Is the light peaceful? Yes. Infinite light of being. Then so there's the contrast. Infinite light that he's given in the light circles. Reminder, light, your light, your light, your light, your light, your light. And then we're going to Jesus. Let me tell you all the reasons why I'm not light. Let me tell you all the reasons why I need these increasingly vicious circles. So I don't have to change how I see. Is that all pain, Jesus? Ask Jesus, is all pain and suffering, like the totality of it, not being willing to change how I see? That's it. Hola. There we go. See? We're back on. Yeah, we decided we were feeling like the ego really didn't want to hear about it's all vengeance. Shut that baby down, boy. Yeah. I'm trying to put it back up on. Okay. So everybody can see it. Okay. Yeah, weren't we talking about savage imagery?
Vicious.
Vicious, savage imagery. Are there any images? Is there oh my gosh, that's deep. I said, Jesus, is there any image that isn't savage? Whoa. Not one. Not a teeny tiny itty bitty one isn't savage. Okay. It makes you want to jump on board this reinterpretation, doesn't it? Whew, smoking. Okay, Jesus. Yes, let's look at this. Yes, I am recording. In fact, here's the hilariousness of this whole thing. We discovered is that it goes live. Well, YouTube just keeps going even when it stops. We get booted out. I don't know what it looks like, but Renee said it kept going. So it's still live. We're still live. So, but it's really good. Okay, so let's just look at the savage, how we want to create a savage fantasy. Okay. Savage. He's got to convince us that we're savage. Savage. We gotta see. It's really savage. Okay, do we need to see that? Jesus, hear it? Yes. Because otherwise you're gonna make nice with it. Try to make nice. Okay. And then so we make it and then we want to escape it. And you see that, like, look really close at that, because I can remember I always wanted to, like, if I can just escape this world, but it makes it and he wants to escape it. Do I want to try to escape the ego while staying in his clutches? You get that? Yes. Oh, yes. Okay. Might as well be honest. Yeah, otherwise you're going to he says, otherwise you're going to dabble in that. You're going to keep in the dabbling with the devil because you're going to look for a nice fantasy in there. And that's the thing, then it'll jump out to a new I don't like this fantasy. I can go to a better fantasy. I can go move somewhere else and I'll be in a happier fantasy. And we really think we're happy in the fantasy. You can ask them, Jesus, do I have a fantasy that I'm happy in the fantasy? That I'm happy in the fantasy? Oh, yep. Okay. He's just dispelling all the illusions. Okay. Is it not joyous news to hear that it's not real? The ego is going to play that if we have a better fantasy, we can escape the ego. No, we have to see that it's not real. We have to be willing to see that it's not real. That's why willingness is so important. Because Jesus can't, he can't, God can't come in and say, it's really real and I'm going to save you from that. No. Because it would make it real that there's something to save us from. They can only, it's self-salvation, seeing that it's self-punishment and then choose again. Cease to choose a fantasy to replace light. These little images. Is it not joyous news to hear? Yes, but the ego doesn't want to hear it, so it may not sound joyous. Because when you really want it, it doesn't sound like good news. When there's like this thing below, the awareness, the desire to experience hell. So here's Jesus whispering our ear with happy news, and we're saying, I don't want to hear a word you're saying. Just ask him, Jesus, are you trying to tell me happy news? Do I want to avoid hearing the happy news? And is there a desire below my level of awareness not to hear the happy news? I said that's the only way fantasy can play in the mind, is to avoid admitting that they do not exist. So it's just the happiness is the admission. That's why the ego does everything in its power. We abdicate the power to feel powerless so that we don't actually look to see that it's nothing. Now that's the humor. Okay. Is it not a happy discovery to find that you can't escape? Let's really look at, see how that feels. Do I really feel happy to discover I can escape? Might as well be in the honesty. It is a happy discovery, but not for the part that likes to keep it. You made what you would destroy. Boy, you start to see, it keeps reminding me of Vishnu, in the Hindu gods, how there's a god of destruction, God of creation in those little loop cycles. He's just pointing, that's just pointing how God is playing in consciousness. You made what you would destroy, everything that you hate and would attack and kill. Do I still, let's just check in, see how we're doing on the desire to kill. How's that playing under there? Jesus still got some of that desire to kill the light. He says, if you're not peaceful, every time you're not peaceful, that is the desire to kill the light out of awareness. The tiniest twinge, Jesus, is the tiniest twinge vengeance against ourselves, trying to play the game of vengeance. Okay. All that you fear does not exist. Jesus, do I need your help to see that all that I fear does not exist? Yes, because you like vengeance so much. You relish vengeance. And if you relish vengeance, of course you'll be in fear. Look at the world about you at least 5 times today, for at least a minute each time. As your eyes move slowly from one object to another, one body to another, say to yourself, I see only the perishable. Five times today, a minute each time. I see only the perishable. I see nothing that will last. You can even feel tension on that, looking around. like the play of wanting it to last and knowing darn well it can't last. Like wanting to hold on to the pictures even when they're the changing. Like trying to staple the clouds in the sky. You can ask them, is that any different from trying to staple clouds in the sky and going, that configuration? But see how consciousness will play with some things. It lets it move around, doesn't even give a thought to the clouds moving across the sky. It doesn't go up there and look at the clouds and going, yeah, I'd like the sky to stay just like this, just this perfect. No, it doesn't. We don't argue with the clouds in the sky usually. I mean, sometimes we like a better sunset. He says you're always looking for better sunsets. You can watch it, just watching the sunset. See how many images come in the mind about a different sunset, the last sunset, the most romantic sunset. The next sunset. What time is sunset tomorrow? I want to see it. Just like, Oh boy, is that vengeance, Jesus? To see how that's vengeance. It's like you wouldn't have put it. It seems so innocent. I'm just planning tomorrow when I'm going to see the sunset. Is that vengeance, Jesus? Whoa, this dongle's not that stable. What I see is not real. What I see is a form of vengeance. Oh, this is vengeance. It's admitting that what we're seeing is vengeance. Does the ego want to admit that? Ask them. Do I want to look around at everything I see and admit it's vengeance? I can see why I didn't make it past the first 44. Had to go back about 4 or 5 times because that's the last thing. It just feels like too much. You know, it felt like this is just too much. It's the ego's going to say it's too much. It's too much to look to see that everything I see is a form of vengeance. At the end of each practice period, ask yourself, is this the world I really want to see? Vengeance. And then see the answer is, with honesty of God, yes. Like, I do want to see it. Because then we could admit and be helped by Jesus. Okay, help me out of this. So everything I see is vengeance. Think about that. Every single thing I see is vengeance. I mean, there's not a single exception. Like, no wonder we feel at war all the time if everything we see is vengeance. Where's the peace in that? That's why it all has to be retranslated. We're in a constant state of vengeance. The desire to experience vengeance through what we see, through what we hear, through what we taste, through what we smell. It's just constant state of defense. You can ask Jesus and see. And every day, it's like, I need your help more than ever. At the end of each practice period, ask yourself, is this world the world I really want to see? In honesty of God. And we look deep at our true calling of the heart, where we can drop out of wanting and the desire to experience a world of vengeance, that lusting after it, for everything we see to have more value in God. And we really go deep in there and go, is this truly what I want? So we can hear the no and the call of our heart to see things differently. And be so inspired by each other to see things differently together. And it's so inspiring. Then we're inspired to look. We're inspired to see past this vengeance. Inspired to admit, yeah, boy, I really want this more than God. Then we inspire each other up. We inspire each other in the true holy sense of holy relationship. Is this the world I really want to see? The answer is surely obvious. To see that the fantasy has never brought anything that we've pretended like it could bring. So Jesus is reminding me of chapter 20 and the invitation to chapter 20 with him through the brother, to look deeply at desires with him. So if you have a partner, this is his, inspiring. Keep looking with me. I'll show you. I'll coach you one-on-one. It's still, the offer's there. He's just willing to coach us and hear us. And just the joy of, they were doing chapter 20 here yesterday and start talking. We're all hearing the same thing. See, just the happiness of seeing the one mind together. Our only purpose is to see that it's one together in these joinings. So if you'd like a partner and you're watching just text us and Jesus will provide one for you. So you'll have a partner to really go deep and learn how to speak with him and then speak his voice to wash out the ideas of personal identity. This is definitely a one-on-one with Jesus program.
where he is promising and fulfilling his promises to us about our ability to hear him, hear his voice and speak his voice and follow his voice, and take us out of this desire for continual feeling of vengeance and attack to the peace that we are, our identity of peace. So yeah, it's beautiful. Thank you for showing us so deeply, Jesus. And we're going to invite Lori to come up again and sing as inspired. Yeah, just be careful because it's kind of on the edge.
This might be a cheerleader song for us to keep working together with honesty of God. And it's called Be Still. God, how will you move me? How will you heal my restless heart? What is my remedy? Truth be told, the world forgiven cannot last. Hey, oh, I receive mercy. Hey, oh, I receive your golden grace. Don't you dare look back, look right here and now. There's no place you'd rather be. Brother, where art thou? Then given somehow, standing in front of me, tenderly. Hey, oh, I receive mercy. Hey, oh, I receive you golden grace. Hand over the blindfolds, boxing gloves, lipstick shades, burn the masks in the aftershave cases. The battle will never be waged. The soldier lives, truth offers no response. I don't wanna fight. I don't wanna fight anymore. See illusion melting away. Hey, oh, I receive your mercy. Hey, oh, I receive your gift of grace. Still sliding away. I raise a glass to you. Slip sliding away. Be still. See illusion melting away. The old is passing away. The old is passing still, be still. The old is passing away. You go.
Yeah. Thank you so much, Lori. We love you. San Juan Kosla. That's the troops over here. Yeah, there we go. That's the whole crew. Love you.